thought that if we could do something where we do it just for the passion of technology, of implementing technology, of knowing that we are changing lives for entrepreneurs that come to us for developing their applications. If we could do that, what could we create?
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews.
Hello there and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. It's Rick Nusky here. I hope you're doing really well and thank you for all of your support. I've been reading through your feedback. Love reading through your feedback. I always learn so much about you and all of the things that you're learning from the show and taking away from it. So thank you very much and keep that feedback coming through. Now, on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming Tekrevol's co-founder, CMO and keynote speaker, Mr. Abeer Raza. Welcome to the show, Abeer.
Thanks, Rick, for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. What a wonderful backdrop you have there. We're going to be talking about where you're calling in from in a moment, but for context, we're going to be talking about your business, Tekrevol's success thus far. And we're going to talk about the journey that you're on to revolutionize the world by enabling entrepreneurs, SMEs and enterprise level organizations to disrupt their domains through emerging technology. Now, there is a lot to unpack there. So let's start from the start. I mentioned the background that you've got there. Where are you calling in from?
This is Dubai. It's downtown Dubai, business bay. So you have Burj Khalifa right on my left,
Yep.
and the city right on my back.
Tell me something. What do you love about the place?
Dubai, it's one of the newest cities built, and it's really put itself on the map in the last 20 so years.
Oh, yeah.
And you can kind of see how it's scaled so far, and what the ingenuity behind the whole model is, and it offers people endless opportunities to scale almost zero taxes. So people come here, they make a lot of money, and they spend it back in Dubai. And it's I guess it's like a capitalist wet dream sort of. It's pretty cool. I think it has a lot of going on for, especially right now with recession going on around the world.
Yep.
I think Dubai generally has this pace of catching up to world recession 5 years later. So we're hoping to invest more here and scale things.
Fantastic. I notice there's pictures of the man-made island that look like a palm tree. Is that a local residence?
Yeah, it is. Actually, they have two now. So it's weird. Like every time I come here, which is almost every month, something changes. Dubai is like an evolutionary process of like when you see a human being grow. It's like, again, you have to realize the city was just sand and desert like 30 years ago, and all of it has been built in 30 years. So it's amazing. It's inspiring.
So we talked about earlier, your life growing up. Is that where you lived when you were growing up?
No, I think I actually came to Dubai the first time when I was 24, 25. I think that was my first international trip because I couldn't afford that. I grew up in Pakistan, Karachi, and yeah, like it's a different sort of place, I guess. The interesting thing about Karachi is that there is almost no infrastructure for people, and the only thing that kind of keeps you going is grit, pure grit that tomorrow's gonna be better, and you're gonna make it through this, and you just have to keep going. And there's some super interesting people and amazing people that I've met along the way that have kind of helped me create what I've created so far, as well as help me understand how to define purpose and sort of stick to it even when everything around you seems purposeless. There's a lot of chaos there. Like even in our office these days, we have blackouts 4 times a day.
Oh, wow.
As a tech company, that's not
ideal.
But we've got backup generators and stuff like that to sustain ourselves. But like the whole idea here is that how do you run through chaos and how do you make sure that you can harness it? So I think we built that. One of our values is actually structured chaos. So kind of embodying that. But I think where you have a lot of weaknesses or a lot of debilitations, there's a lot of strength as well on the other side. You can make that your strength if you try to. So
There's something to be said for grit, and there's obviously something to be said for mindset. You would have been challenged multiple times along the way. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of mindset to you, and what do you do when you have a bit of a down day, and do you have them?
of course, all the time
Mm-hmm.
now. I mean, it's. I wouldn't say a down day for myself. Yes, most of the times it makes it seem like tomorrow, like there's no tomorrow, or you're not going to have any positive days anymore. I like to kind of take my day off, and I can as in my position, I guess. So
Yep.
I kind of just internalize stuff and figure out what's really bothering me and what is it that's actually how do I have to figure it out. For in these days, mostly, we're trying to kind of repurpose the organization, restructure it, and sort of change the overall positioning for the brand. So there have been a lot more days these days where I'm trying to figure out where we go from here
Mm-hmm.
and what's the next step. We just made Inc. 5000 fastest growing
Oh
company this
wow.
year. So now the race is on for Fortune 500, and there's a lot of other stuff that's going on in the business. So it's obviously a lot to take in, a lot of process. So I'm honestly not sure how people like Elon Musk like continuously
How they
work
do it.
14 hours a day
Ah,
every week. I really need my one day, maybe a month or whatever to kind of
absolutely.
rethink priorities and figure out.
Well, for somebody who's so busy and presumably on occasion pushed to their limit, you're looking wonderfully well and fit. Do you take much time out to, have a routine that includes fitness and things like that? Tell us a little bit about that side of your life.
That would be a really bad answer for people who are listening, but okay. So I eat once a day. So it's like a 24-hour fast for me, and that's not by choice. It's just that I don't get hungry.
Yep,
I
yep.
sleep 4 5 hours a day
Is
maximum.
that it?
Again, not by choice, but just because I don't feel like sleeping.
Yep.
It's just so much to think about and so many. So for me, it's like when you're in that situation where you're driving a business, whatever you can make of it is based on your imagination. So
Mm-hmm.
how much more can you do? How much more can you push yourself? Or how many more ideas or opportunities can you create for people? So it can drive you insane. So so it's a yeah. I mean, the more downtime I have, and that's one of the reasons for eating less as well. Because as soon as I do, I get food high, and there's like a whole 1 hour
Down.
thing that you have to kind of get over it. So it's yeah, I mean, that's my health advice, I guess. Just don't eat.
So do you have much time for like doing fitness and running or walking? What do you like to do?
Yeah, definitely. I have 2 or 3 days in a quarter where I get a gym membership and go there and then
Mm-hmm.
forget it. So,
At least you're honest.
but yeah, but I think it's like it goes for everybody, I guess. I mean, whatever you're focused on, whatever it is that you want to do, if you want to have a nice lifestyle, nice fitness, then that's your thing, and that's completely okay.
Yep,
But
yep.
if you want to build a purpose-driven organization and if you want people to rally behind you, or if you want people to kind of be inspired by what you do and how you do it, then they can see that you're deviated from your goals. They can't see any weaknesses. It's just the way it is. So
Yep.
you have to be, the business all the time, every time. In fact, I joked about this with my partner yesterday that whenever we have my wife and I have a kid, so we have our date nights, every weekend. So
Yes,
whenever we
yep.
go out, 90% of the conversations are about the business. So
I bet she loves that.
she does. She does. She understands that I'm, purpose driven, and it's a great really partnership, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's
So
wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing. This gives context to those who are startups, and they're just starting their journey towards success, and they will learn a lot from you about the things to look forward to, the things to avoid, and all of those types of things. Now, Abeer, you touched on Elon Musk earlier, and he's obviously quite an inspirational source for many people. Who else in your life would have been a source of inspiration for you as you journeyed through time, as it were?
yeah, so I mean, I've always had that curious mindset, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like back in days when I was doing school, I would be the only person who would ditch PE or any sort of physical activity type of things and be in the library all the time. I actually got a certificate for reading all the books in the library. So
Oh, wow.
for me, books are my inspiration, whether it be fiction or nonfiction, it doesn't really matter. I read a lot more nonfiction now, unfortunately, because I have limited time and I can only spend it on one thing.
Yep.
But it's when you read about people and what inspires them and how their mind works. Like that's key. I think that really defines everything, right? Like it's not about how you would, in a way it's a blueprint of yours, like how would you react to a certain situation given that situation happens. Whatever your core values are, whatever it is that drives you is what your response is going to be. So it's interesting, and kind of I was recently reading about Da Vinci and his biography.
Mm-hmm.
Written by the same guy who wrote Steve Jobs. I'd
Yep.
love to know, I'm not able to remember the name, but and I've read about Elon Musk through that, Richard Branson. I think all these, I mean, they're called celebrity, rock star CEOs now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but there is definitely a certain allure to the way they, I don't know how much of it is true, but like the way they operate, the way they think, the way it seems like, the cool factor of Virgin Atlantic and
Yes.
how to scale and go after British Airways and the behemoths of the world, and just still be Virgin, right? Like the whole idea of a noob. So it's interesting, and definitely gives you a lot to think about and a lot of heart to kind of pursue things. And I'm in my spare time whenever I'm eating or something like that, then I
Mm-hmm.
would watch TED Talks and things like that to kind of
Oh, I love it.
inspire me.
I love it. So do you like to take in an audio book as opposed to reading sometimes?
Um, Most of the time I like the visual component
Right.
with the audio, but when I'm traveling or taking a ride or whatever, then I would definitely do an audiobook.
You've talked about Richard Branson, and I've seen some of the monumental failures as well as the monumental successes that he's had. And, he's just an amazing person. I wonder, from all of this, given that there are ups and downs and trials and tribulations in your business, what have you learned from failure? And how important is it to have experienced it?
Um, I think we now have about 200 people, and last year we had about 100.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave it in which I said something, because I mean our failures are spectacular failures. They're not just like small
Small.
failures.
You do it
Where
properly.
Yeah, where everybody can see that, this is where all the money that we're making is being invested. So,
Yep, yep.
I mean, for me, like, I don't have 100 employees. I have 100 employers or 200 employers now. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of responsible to them. So in the last speech that I gave last year, I was like, we've had 100 failures this year, and our job next year is to have 200. So it's when you move fast, when you're trying to achieve the unachievable, most of the time you're going to have failures. The key idea is how can you get back up. And I know everybody says that, but
Mm-hmm.
in actuality it's that small time that you get between when you have just failed and you feel like this is it, I'm done, and the depression of that, or sort of the misery of that starts setting in. There's a small window there
Mm-hmm.
where you can, like, fuck it, I'm not going to get to the next stage and I'm just going to plow
Give it
through.
in. Yep.
You have to take that and just run with it, and obviously not block out the failure, process it, and figure out what you did wrong. But
Yep.
honestly, like, subconscious is so strong that we keep processing failure, which is also one of the reasons why people end up in therapy. But essentially, the idea here is that, you're gonna get the core values. You're gonna understand what mistakes you're making in real time. When you're actually making the same decision, you realize, hey, I've done this before. I've been here before. So there's no need to wallow on your failure or take a step back or pick yourself up or dust yourself down. There's nothing.
It's not worth it.
Momentum is key. If you lose momentum, then everything else loses. So, you just have to keep going. But it's interesting that you mentioned Richard Branson. I'm sorry I'm cutting you off.
No, absolutely loving it. Thank you.
One thing that I wanted to kind of add to it. One of the things that inspires me about Richard Branson is how he's built a company of values and purpose. And he's sort of painted this, everything that he does through the same brushstroke. I think he has about 300 or so companies right now. And every one of them, is co-owned by another sort of entrepreneur that he's built up, and he's sort of like, he's known as the yes man. So anybody who comes up with an idea, he's like, yes, let's do it. In fact, his mantra is, screw it, let's do it. So and although I didn't have his example back when I started the company like 4 years ago, I hadn't read his biography and I wasn't really familiar with how things are done in the West. But that's one of the values that we sort of had from day one, which is that we would give opportunities to people who want to come up and do their own thing. In fact, we tell most of our employees that we hire right on the day one that, we're sitting on the opposite side of the seat, but that's not always going to be the case. If you have brilliant ideas, if you want to do something, we'll invest in it. We'll work with you and we will make you the next CEO.
Yeah, wow.
In fact, for the next 5 years, our goal is to make 50 more CEOs. We've made about 6 so far. Out of them, Tekrevol is one of them, obviously. And that's, I just mentioned earlier that we made 5,000 this year. And the race is on for Fortune 500. But next year, I'm hoping that 2 other companies of ours are going to make 5,000, and the year after, maybe 20.
Yeah, wow.
So that's the sort of goal that, we don't want to just grow ourselves. We want to grow with each other, and and it's not just an opportunity, right? Like it's not like we're giving them something that they wouldn't be able to have. We're just recognizing talent. Sometimes you have to push people, you kind of put them in uncomfortable situations, which they have no clue about. But if you can sort of see a little bit farther ahead than them, you can, sometimes show them what they're capable of.
Yeah, this is great conversation. I just want to, jump around a little bit and think about different things to help bring some value to our audience. And I often ask my guest, what do you think you want to leave behind? What do you think is the one thing you want to have achieved at the end of days for you? What legacy would you like to leave? And have you ever thought about
it? So I was hoping we're not going to end up here because it's a very mushy topic for me. But I guess if we're here, like I've not had a lot growing up. I mean, a lot in terms of, support and stuff like that.
Yep. Self-made.
But, I don't think anybody's self-made.
Yeah.
If my wife wasn't as supportive as she is, or
yes, the real boss.
Yeah, exactly. I would never get to here, or the employees that have helped me get here. So it's just not possible.
Yeah.
You're not, as a human being, you need people around you. You need support. It's stupid to think, narcissistic to think that,
Of course.
Yourself. But I think, back in the days when I started my first business, I was, I think, about 20 or 21. And, I started you would probably see the same thing in NBC as well, that I gave an interview. Like I started with a call center at that time. And that kind of really taught me, grit and sort of calling people and getting a lot of fuck off and no's, builds your, makes your ego somewhat stronger. Used to know, but when I started it, I invested everything that I had in it. I've always been sort of a risk taker in the sense that I was the only person in the house that was making money at that time with a household of 5 people. So it was a huge risk to kind of put everything on the stake. employed as well. So, but anyways, I did that, and I did it so well, in fact, that I realized after I did it that I didn't have any money whatsoever, literally. So I had to walk like 45 minutes or something to my office, which employed people, but their salaries were important. Mine wasn't, right? So back then, I was just having a word with one of my friends. A ticket on the bus used to cost 1 cent. So I didn't even have that.
Oh,
So I mean, maybe I had it. I just probably like I was afraid of using it because I was like, maybe it could be used for something else. So, I'm sure that I'm dramatizing this in my head right now.
yeah.
Just
Now I'm
like
loving
it
it.
work. But, yeah, so like, it's I guess in a way, you know, when I went through that process, and even before, when I sort of like I mentioned, that I was the breadwinner. So what happened was that, at a certain point in time, my dad lost his job, and we
Yep.
were kind of kids, like teenager. I was a teen, like 13, 14 when he lost his job. So things started going bad, the homeless situation that you normally hear about from people. I mean, we had really good family in the sense that we would get a place to stay in different places. Uh, but none of it was ours. We didn't have a car or whatever, or anything at all, actually.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
when things got really bad, and it was time for me to get pulled out of school, my mom was like, no, I'm not going to let that happen. So she sold everything she had. And like, it's jewelry is a big thing in Pakistan. So,
Yep.
having to sell that, what you get from when you're married from your parents,
Wow.
it's heartbreaking, I guess. And yeah, to see that was really bad for me. But what I took from it in my adolescent age was that I'm lucky that I have parents that are able to make these
Oh,
amazing sacrifices to let me study and,
yes.
and something of myself.
Yes.
I'm not going to waste that gift. So, back then I decided that, and that's, I mentioned that I was always into books. So I took that as an opportunity to learn, to be curious, to always evolve. And I also realized that there are so many people around the world that don't have that.
Yeah.
And it's not like when we say that, hey, this guy's poor, and it's by his choice. That's not true.
No.
They If you compared yourself to them, you'd realize they don't have those options, those choices. Even people who get into alcoholism or drugs or anything, like, they don't have the same support system you have. You're blessed. And if you're gonna waste that away by, partying, or I don't know, getting into like stupid shit,
Making those
um,
choices.
really, yeah, you're just, you're wasting the gift that you have, and you're responsible to them.
Yep.
I mean, where you are right now, other people can get to, and it's your responsibility to help get them there.
Get them
So,
there.
it's that's one of the values, even though it's not written anywhere, even though it's not something that I talk about too much, because it can sort of drive people away, because what if they're into the money or anything else that's not their purpose? Then, it's kind of scary to know that people might judge you, whatever. But it is something that we've kind of embedded into the cinema of our companies,
Yep.
organically, without forcing the whole. I mean, we have employees that teach at orphanages. We have employees that donate. We have our own company donates, and partners with Court Girls, which is like an organization for getting impoverished women out of their houses and into jobs, and so many other things that we've done so far. Obviously, not enough at all. In fact, one of our goals for the next 5 years is to impact 20 million lives. So we have a lot to do. And, I think maybe, I don't know if I want to be remembered for that, because I don't want, like, it's not something that I do just so people would know that I do it. I would
No, that's
even,
that's obvious to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's, I guess I would want to think and hope that people know that I've made a better, I've tried to make their lives better. Tried. I don't know
Yep.
if I'm going to
Yep.
succeed,
You know,
but I guess.
I have to say, Abeer, like this is the reason I think the My Future Business Show is so different, because we know from a fundamental level that many of the moving parts inside of a business don't change, but the leadership does. The people, the 2 feet and the heartbeat behind the businesses are always unique on this show. So I very much appreciate you opening up and showing us a little bit of that side of it. Now, tell us something. Where was the genesis of Tekrevol? How did this all come about?
Um, yeah, that's also sort of an interesting story. It started, I think, about 5 years ago or so, when we were both, my partner and myself, Asim Reis, he's a co-founder, CTO,
Mm-hmm.
the CMO. We're both sort of co-CEOs, but we like to, keep to our domain, so we call ourselves CTO and CMO, but we're
Yep.
both sort of the same thing. So we were both working in different companies and not really happy with our jobs, not because our jobs weren't fulfilling or weren't really giving us everything that an employee can possibly have. I was working in Houston at that time and making about $5,000 at an age of like 26 or 27 is not bad,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're coming from Pakistan and you don't have, I,
Much.
there's no possibility though of working in the US. So, so I was doing that and he was, working in a tech company. The biggest thing for us that drove us against the wall most of the times was that we saw so many companies that were after short-term gains and driving value for themselves. Company owners that would, like their biggest thing was to make their retirement fund or fill up their own pockets and get a BMW or whatever. It never really, I never really wanted that. And I still don't. Like I joke about this sometimes that we gave 3 of our employees cars before I got myself a car. So it's like for us, we thought that, hey, if we could do something where we do it just for the passion of technology, of implementing technology, of knowing that we are, changing lives for entrepreneurs that come to us for developing their applications, or
Yep.
partner with them to a level where they don't even know where they end and we start. So if we could do that, what could we create? So it was a hypothesis. It wasn't tested. It wasn't something that, people even tried because obviously most of these companies are investor owned or, they're operated by somebody else and owned by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a bit of dissonance between what you can accomplish and what you really want to accomplish.
Yep.
I mean, I have this fundamental opinion that people are inherently good. Even the most evil people in the world, they started something with the right intentions. It became something else later on, and they did not reconnect with their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they went wrong. But I mean, my thinking was that, if we started something like this, we will be joined by people that have the same values, that have the same purpose, and we'll get somewhere. It does. I don't know how. I don't know where it's going to happen. But if we kept on giving value to our clients beyond the monetary factor and not really caring about where the money came in from or how we made money, but really just drove value, exceptional value,
Mm-hmm.
we'd get. So we started with that. We got a few clients. In fact, one of the first clients that we had stuck around with us till I think just last year when he moved to another company because we were getting too expensive.
That's
But
a good
it's
problem to have.
but yeah, it's I think for us, that's where we've kind of focused on. The first client that we had, he started with us. His company was making at that time like $800,000, under $1 million. Back in the days when he moved on, his company was worth 50 million. So we've sort of focused more on that. I've personally met a lot of clients and essentially like spend time with them, the whole day with them, just to understand how they operate, how they think, how can we help them better, how can we
Mm-hmm.
make their vision a reality. And that was the whole idea of Tech Revolution. One of the companies that we worked with got nominated for Fast Company, Most Innovative Company last year,
Yep.
because the idea behind it was that it was changing, essentially building a relationship between police officers and Black kids and sort of allowing them to take on a mentorship role for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's trying to fix a problem that the US has right now from a very different perspective.
Mm.
And we have a lot of companies that are doing exactly that. They're innovating, they're coming up with new solutions, and that's the spirit of entrepreneurship, right? So I mean,
Absolutely.
like empowering people that just have an idea, and that can solve real world problems. And it's interesting. And I'm by no means I'm saying that enterprise companies don't do that either.
No,
In a
of
way,
course.
they're doing it in silos,
Mm.
in different. But entrepreneurs can do it so much more faster because they're not, you know, held in by, you know, HR or admin or all these other like operational bureaucratic.
Constraints.
Yeah, they're just like driving, you know, 100 miles an hour without, you know,
A seatbelt.
care of. Yeah. So it's been a really worthwhile experience. You know, helping people scale their businesses and seeing how that's happening. In fact, I mean, I think start of this year we you know decided to kind of refocus and we launched Rebel Ventures, which is an accelerator.
Ah,
We're doing it already with some other businesses that we have created along the way, but we realized that we need to sort of formalize this process and make it so that we can build more successful businesses and help
mm.
more people reach their goals and purposes. So yeah, we're now at that stage where we're investing in other startups. We're making some more. The target is 50 for next 5 years. I
Yep.
think that's pretty achievable. I think we can do a lot more.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that's, I guess, you know, how it is.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. Loving this call. Now, tell us a little bit about the core products at the center of Tekrevol. What are you offering?
So I like to say it's a bit of everything. If you know and by that I kind of would want to explain. You know, it's most like technology products, mostly application services,
Love
web
it.
solutions,
Yep.
you know, automation, RPAs. We do a lot of AI, ML stuff as well, and then you know, virtual reality and augmented reality applications.
So you're telling,
Um,
are you talking from ground up? So first line of code through to final realized product. Is that the level
yeah,
of involvement?
Yeah, actually, it's a little bit more because we kind of take a deep dive into conceptualization as well sometimes
Mm.
and figure out what the SWOT analysis would be for the product and competitors and the likes of that. Because I mean, because I'm a marketer,
Yep.
as a CMO, my job is to also see whether something that is being built is actually going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the biggest areas where I drive my energy from when I meet with entrepreneurs and they have this absolute conviction and faith that this is going to work. It's amazing. And yeah, I mean, my job is to obviously be critical and sort of give them feedback and sort of change directions or pivot or tell them this is the market to hit or this is what you need to do. So it's not just the tech, but it's
Mm.
also more than that. It's product development.
Absolutely. And in terms of marketing, that is a big, wide monster, as it were, to get your head around if you've never done that sort of thing before. So, how is it that you work with your clients to help them in, I guess, embrace marketing? Is that something that you offer them as well?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good question. I think most people, so there's, I think, two sides of it. One side is more driven and like it happens with every profession, I guess, where in order to differentiate yourself, you make up jargons and things like that to kind of make it
Yep.
seem important. So, you know, why should doctors be the only ones that feel? So I think in marketing as well, there's a lot of that where we use jargons and things like that to kind of you know, make it seem very difficult. But at the end of it, at the core of it, marketing is part of product development. It's not separate from it. Like you, when you're making something, first you need to identify a need, then you need to identify if enough people have the need. So in a way, that's the four P's of marketing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's how it's human psychology, and it's at the end of the day, you just have to figure out what would work. I mean, there's a lot more to it, obviously, now at this stage where you have analytics coming from different tools that do it in real time, you know, SEMrush or Ahrefs or these kind of places where you can actually tell that how much is the competitor spending, what are the keywords that they're going after, what are the industries they're going after, what is their intent, how much is their ROI potentially, and all those things. So yeah, you can extrapolate a lot more at this stage where you have so much data from companies. But as I said, at its core, and that's what I like to tell entrepreneurs sometimes, that yes, I can logically explain to you why everything's going to succeed. But if you don't have that conviction, if you don't have that instinct that this is what you want to do, then it's not going to work. So, you know, for people that are talking to marketers, it's important for you to have a good feeling about it, because if you
Mm,
don't,
mm.
as an entrepreneur or even as a company that's hiring a marketing organization to help run things, there's always going to be a disconnect, because you're basically saying that, okay, here's my kid, put him out there in the best college against the best peers, and I don't care what happens to him. He ends up, you know, wherever, it doesn't matter
Yep,
to me. Just get him out there. It doesn't work like that. You
doesn't
know,
work.
you're invested in it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing feedback. I wonder, you've got a quite a wide reach of clients across the world. Tell us a little bit about the places that you're serving.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, on the journey for entrepreneurship, you don't, I mean, what you are kind of gets more personified.
Mm,
Um, and again, like I give that example of Richard Branson for a reason, because I like the sense of adventure. I like the fact that I get to travel a lot and meet a lot of new people and work with a lot of new people, and
mm,
put our footprint wherever I go. So, you know, from Ukraine to, you know, Karachi to Dubai to, you know, several cities in the US, east,
mm,
west, south, north. So we just like scaling as fast as possible, and you know, building the reach. So I was having a conversation with my partner yesterday that, you know, there's the companies that we came from when we started Tekrevol, you know, they still exist. There's several of them out there which
yep.
value money over clients, or which value, you know, their financial success over success of their employees or success of other people. For me, it's a vendetta. It's not just a purpose, it's a vendetta against everybody that does not share that purpose, because like if like every employee that we hire, we're letting them escape from that, you know, rat race where they're always going to be an employee, where they're always going to be
Yes.
looked at and exploited. So the more we go out there, the more we touch people, the more opportunities we can create for our message to get delivered, for more opportunities we're going to create to take clients away from companies that are going to screw them over eventually,
Mm,
and show them the right way it's done. And we've seen that so many times, and it's not like we haven't had dissatisfied clients. We have, but every time we've had zero negative reviews anywhere online. You'd probably notice that when you're doing research, and
yes.
not just with Tekrevol, but all the other companies that, you know, we've established apart from Tekrevol. So that's, I mean, you can kind of see like 55 reviews on Clutch that are positive, and pretty large, you know,
It doesn't
well,
happen by accident, does it?
exactly. We're listed as the top app development company in Houston, top app development company in Miami, and top two in Karachi, top five in the world
Yeah,
in
wow.
4 years. So, you know, it's been a very steady and slow process for us, but the core of it is that even with companies that are dissatisfied with us and they move away, we give them full refund. We're like, okay, you know, it's fine. You know, you have a different goal and it's not working out between us.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, what we've seen, and it's interesting, is when they would come back after having worked with somebody else, and they're like, they just didn't understand what we're trying to do.
Yes.
So it's you know, it kind of heartens you that, hey, you know what we're trying to do. I mean, it's not just us, like
No.
me and my partner. It's embodied by all the employees now, and they share the same values. And yeah, I mean, the idea is for us to get more out there, and you know, sort of reach more people, and keep scaling.
This has been one of those deep and meaningful conversations that has gone a few different places, and it's really revealed a lot about you as a personality, as a leader, you know, as a business owner, as someone who's trying to make a difference in the world and leave their footprint, as it were. Now, tell us a little bit about what will people find on the website, and what's the, I guess, the onboarding process to work out whether or not we are a good fit to work with each other.
So pre-Revel Ventures, it used to be that you would come to us, and sort of submit an inquiry, and we'd get on call with you, and sort of, I mean, it could just be like a idea that you have that, okay, you know, I want to build a tech product that's going to do this. And we would help you kind of navigate the whole process of identifying features that it has to have, a prototype, and all that stuff. Post Revel Ventures, We would even take you on if you don't have funding, as long as you have the right idea, right plan, right execution, right mindset.
Right
We'd want to work.
attitude. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's not like we can take all the projects in the world. I wish we could. We're self-funded. We don't have any investors, so it's all. In fact, like again, another sort of interesting concept. We started the company with $1,000 each 5 years ago. Now, it's we're at 10 million in terms of revenue in 5 years. So that's a pretty big multiple to get to. But what people fail to understand is that it doesn't get from 1,000 to 10 million and like just as is. First, it goes from 1,000 to $5,000 and then $10,000. And all of that money has to be reinvested. So you are always the last one to get a paycheck. Because if you took the first paycheck, then what does that say about you?
Yeah, leaves
So
nothing.
yeah, so it's it's obviously a hard process to kind of keep investing in your ideals and your morals, but it has really good yield. So what I'm trying to say is that if we feel like we could be a good partnership, we would take it on and we would pursue it like if it was our own product. And yeah, I mean, if you don't want to share equity, then there's you know you can basically get a price from us and then see if that works for you. We're very competitive because we have most of our resources in Ukraine and Pakistan, so it's the labor cost arbitrage is there. But we have a pretty large team in the U.S., in Miami, in Houston, San Francisco, so and in Dubai. So if you want to kind of work with us in that region, come directly to our office, see us, help us flesh out your idea out. We would whiteboard it and kind of figure things out from there, even give you workshops if needed. And then once we have everything figured out, then yeah, we just give you a timeline and we commit to it.
And go from there. Wow, incredible. I can just see that you've got the game together, and everybody who comes on board, whether or not they understand it first time around, when they come back, if they need to even leave, they understand it the second time around. So I certainly understand the model and how you're going about it, and I'm sure that the My Future Business audience is absolutely loving this call. Now, given that we're at the pointy end of the call already, could you share with us where people can find you should they want to connect with you and the business?
Sure. Like if they want to find me, they could just Google me, Abeer Raza. You'd find a lot of stuff and a lot of profiles. I mean, at this point, I can't have a private life. So they could reach out to LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever. Just know that that's probably not me texting them back. It's probably one of my people in the company.
Of course.
I'm not a very social person. I'm an introvert by nature, so I like to keep to myself. But if you have a great idea, if you have that enthusiasm and that motivation, I would love to sap some of that. Like
I'll take some of that.
So, yeah. I mean, it's like, trust me, like when you speak to a passionate person, it just livens up your day. And I wish people could just know that and realize that, if you're doing something with a purpose, if you can commit wholly to it, then you don't need anything else. You don't need, any sort of additives or whatever.
Anything else. Yeah, absolutely. So in closing, tell us which website people need to go to learn more about your products and services.
They can visit tekrevol.com, Tekrevol. That's basically a play on the word technology revolution, but
of course,
we couldn't find CH, so you settle with T.
I love it. You know what? You talked about energizing and, getting excited about things that are happening. I'm certainly energized and excited for you. And with that all being said, if you're on this call today and you want to learn more about Abeer and his wonderful business at Tekrevol, and you want to find out more, you'll find the links back to all of the good work that they're doing at tekrevol.com. I'll be making sure to make that link available to you. And with that being all said, Abeer, thank you so very much for joining me on the My Future Business show today.
Thank you for your time, Rick. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.